All right. So in the last class, right, we had discussed the harmonic potential and particle in that harmonic potential. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to get the energy levels, we wanted to get the wave functions, and then solve the Schrodinger equation for a harmonic potential and get the energy and wave function. Right? That was our aim. So I told you about two methods. One method is to just use the differential equation, which is the Schrodinger equation, and try to solve that differential equation. So as you can see, right, let's go back to that. Right, so this was our differential equation. This is the harmonic potential, right? So we wanted to solve for this differential equation, and as you can see, this differential equation is not a very easy differential equation to solve. So this is a special kind of a differential equation, and so the solution to this differential equation is also a special kind of a formula. Okay, so the formula that we got was that the wave function turns out to be in this. And this is the form of the wave function. Okay, so this is a Gaussian term, e power minus x square. Okay, whenever you see e power minus x square, e power minus x minus 2 whole square, all of those are just Gaussian wave functions. Okay, so when you see, so this is a Gaussian term, and then that term is multiplied with a Hermite polynomial. Okay, and we saw what Hermite polynomial are. So Hermite polynomial is given by this expression. Okay, so depending on what n is, you can find what is the Hermite polynomial corresponding to that value of n. Alright, so that is how we got the wave function. And we also got the energy. What was the energy? The energy was n plus half into h cross omega. Okay. Now, as you can see that here, what is the lowest energy that is possible, right? The lowest energy has to be a non-zero energy, okay? So what is the lowest energy that is possible? That is when n is equal to 0. That is the lowest energy possible. So the energy when n equal to 0 is half into h cross omega, and that is your 0 point energy, right? In quantum mechanics, as we know and as we have seen earlier, the energy of a particle cannot be zero. If it is zero, then it violates the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? Because if the energy of a particle is zero, it means that the particle is not moving, which means that momentum is zero, right? And because the particle is not moving, it means that the position is also known, right? So if the position is known, momentum is known, that just violates the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So for a quantum particle, the energy cannot be zero. There has to be some finite energy even at the lowest energy level. So here in this case, that energy, that lowest energy, which is called the 0 point energy, is equal to half into h cross omega. Okay. All right. So as you can see here, this problem that we solved, right? This problem is a one-dimensional problem, right? Because there is only x variable here, right? There's no y, z, or other variables. Okay. So this is a one-dimensional problem in the 1D coordinate system. And second thing is this is a bound potential, right? This is a parabolic type of potential. Okay. So it goes like that. So this is a bound potential, which means that the particle is bound within this region, which is encompassed by the potential. Okay. And because this is a 1D system where the particle is bound, the energy levels that you will get will be discrete and will be non-degenerate. And that is what you are getting. You are not getting any two energy levels which are the same. So for every n, you get only one particular energy, right? It's not like for two different values of n, you get same energy, right? In that case, the energies will become degenerate. But here it is non-degenerate because for different value of n, you get a different energy, right? So that is a non-degenerate system. And the system is also discrete. There are discrete states because this is n can only take 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Those kind of values. So that means it is a discrete state because the particle can have only those set of energies. It cannot have energy that is 0, that is energy for n equal to 0.1 or 0.5, okay, that is not possible. So these are discrete n values, and therefore the energy levels are also discrete. Okay, and then we moved on to do the same problem, but now using matrix method. Okay, matrix method is much easier, and you don't need you don't need to know what are the solution to this complicated differential equation. You can just solve it using the known methods. Okay, so matrix method is something that people prefer when trying to solve such problems. Okay, so in the matrix method, what we do, we took this Hamiltonian, which had the kinetic energy part and the potential energy part. We took this Hamiltonian and we wrote it in terms of P square plus Q square. And then what we did, we divided or we factored this Hamiltonian into two parts so that we defined two new operators where A was 1 by root 2 into Q plus IP and A dagger was 1 by root 2 into Q minus IP. Okay, now using these two operators, we can combine these operators and get what is H for in terms of these two operators, right? And so I think somewhere we've got H, yeah. So H, the Hamiltonian can be written as H cross omega into A dagger A plus half. Okay, so that is one way to write the Hamiltonian in terms of the A and A dagger operators. Okay. And then we did some, some small commutator relations and this and that because we wanted to get the eigen function. Okay, so finally, I think after all this algebra, we got, then we saw that there are these raising operator and lowering operator. Okay, so A dagger is known as the raising operator because what it did was it raised the energy value by H cross omega. Okay, and A is a lowering operator because what it does is it lowers the energy value by H cross omega. So the eigenvalue that you get becomes E minus H cross omega. And here the eigenvalue that you get is E plus H cross omega. So A dagger is known as the raising operator and A is known as the lowering operator. Okay. All right. So from these concepts, we finally got, right, the wave function, which is a Gaussian wave function, right? So Gaussian function is something that we got even with the analytic method using the differential equation, right? The first wave function, the psi 0 of x turned out to be Gaussian. So same thing we are getting here, and if you normalize it, you will get this kind of a normalization factor. Okay. So now let's move on to the next step. Okay, we have so far only,
Ma'am, there is a typo mistake, I think. Can you just go to the previous page? Where is the H, Hamiltonian? Just a little bit up to this. This one. In the second line, you see H cross omega.
Yes. I think this I mentioned in class also. Last class. I think I missed A dagger here.
A dagger.
Yeah. So please correct it while you're studying it, okay? Please make sure that you correct it. That's a good point. Gaurav, right? I'm not seeing who said this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Gaurav. Yeah, you are right. So I have missed an A dagger here. So please correct it when. I think this one is okay, but in this step, I think I've missed an A dagger. So please correct it when you're reading it, when you're learning it. All right, cool. But ultimately, you are going to get E plus H cross omega into A dagger psi. All right. So now what we need to do, we have found out the wave function using this matrix method, but we also need to get the energy values. Okay. And so we need to get energy values plus we need to normalize the wave functions. Okay. Depending on that. All right. So now what we'll do is we'll try to get the energy values. So if you see what H, if you apply the Hamiltonian on psi 1, okay, you can write psi 1 in terms of the raising operator. Okay, so there will be some normalization constant, which I'm taking it as some B0. Okay, that's some normalization constant. So normalization constant and raising operator and psi 0. That is same as writing psi 1. Okay, because what A dagger does is to raise the energy level by h cross omega, which means it is going to the next energy state or next eigenstate. Okay, so essentially this is similar to psi 1. Okay, so when I'm operating h, the Hamiltonian on the wave function psi 1, I can write it as I can write psi 1 as A dagger psi naught. Okay. So now if you apply H on A dagger psi naught. Okay. So if you apply H on psi 1, what you're going to get? You're getting E1 psi 1, right? If you apply H on A dagger psi naught, as we have seen earlier, let's go back to that. If you apply H on A dagger psi, what do you get? You get E plus H cross omega A dagger psi. So we are using this same formula here. Okay. So what we are doing, we are, so for psi naught, the energy was E naught and plus H cross omega into A dagger psi. Okay. So what we get here is E naught plus H cross omega into psi 1. Okay. And what is E naught? E naught we already know, we have seen, right? E naught is half into H cross omega. So we can do half into H cross omega plus H cross omega into psi 1. Okay, so this gives us what? 3 by 2 h cross omega. Or we can write even as 1 plus half into h cross omega. Okay, similarly you can do for psi 2. What is psi 2? Psi 2 is nothing but A dagger psi 1. Okay, so now if Hamiltonian is applied on A dagger psi 1, you are going to get the eigenvalue as E1 plus h cross omega. Okay, and what is E1? E1 we have already seen it as 3 by 2 h cross omega. So you're going to get 3 by 2 h cross omega plus h cross omega. That turns out to be 5 by 2 h cross omega. So this can also be written as 2 plus half into h cross omega, right? So essentially, if you keep doing this, right, E3, E4, E5, so this is just like a recursion relation. So if E3 is related to E2, E4 is related to E3 and so on, right? So if you do that, you will get En is equal to n plus half into h cross omega. So essentially, we have got the same energy En as we got from the differential equation method. So from my matrix method also, using these operators A dagger and A, we have got the same energy. Okay. All right. So this is the energy that we have solved. Now I think what we need to do, we need to normalize the wave function. Okay, so let's first look at these two Hamiltonians, right? The Hamiltonian is written in the form h cross omega into A dagger A plus half, or it can also be written in terms of h cross omega into A dagger minus half. Okay, these Hello, I'm back. So I think I missed. So you guys now have to tell me how much I was still talking and where I left off. Just a sec. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. I think where did we left off? Did I complete this part? So maybe I'll start from here, right? Okay, I don't know. At some point the connection went off. Okay, so what we are trying to do is we are trying to normalize psi n plus 1, okay, because we have written here psi 1 is b naught into a dagger psi naught. So we don't know what this b naught is, so we need to find the normalization factor, okay. So that's what we are trying to do. And that way we'll also find what the other psi n's are, okay, in general what the function psi n looks like, okay. So here we have uh, okay, so here we have already written H, the Hamiltonian H in terms of A and A dagger. Okay, so H is given as H cross omega into A dagger A plus half, and H is also given as H cross omega into A dagger minus half. Okay, see, so these are two equivalent forms of the Hamiltonian. And second thing is we know En is equal to n plus half into H cross omega. So now we'll try to normalize psi n plus 1, given that psi n is normalized. Okay, so in order to normalize psi n plus 1, we first say that this scalar product has to be equal to 1. And then whatever constant we get, that we take it to the other side and try to get what is the value of that constant. Okay, so if the scalar product is 1, and then psi n plus 1 can be written as A dagger psi n, right? A dagger psi n. So now what we have done is, but there is a Cn also. This is Cn is your normalization factor, which we need to find out. Okay. So Cn square into the scalar product of psi n, A dagger psi n with itself. Okay, that is equal to 1. Now this A dagger is inside a bra. Okay, so we can take it outside of the bra, and if we take it outside of the bra, this A dagger becomes just A, because you have to do A dagger dagger. So that becomes just A. So now you have A into A dagger. Okay, so now you need to solve for this, and once you solve for this, then you will get what is your Cn square. Okay, so first of all, we need to know how to solve for this. So we already have the formula that H is given by H cross omega into A dagger minus half. Okay, so this is the where the A dagger is coming in. So what we'll do, we'll apply H to psi n. We'll get En psi n. And En psi n is nothing but n plus half into H cross omega psi n. Okay, this much is clear. We are not doing anything different here. Now, instead of H, the Hamiltonian operator H, we will introduce or we will use this formula, okay, which is H cross omega into A dagger minus half. All right. I hope everyone is following me. Please stop me if there is something is not clear. So instead of this H operator, we will use this formula. Okay, so we substitute this formula over here. Okay, this H cross omega gets cancelled on both the sides. And now we are left with A dagger minus half into psi n is equal to n plus half into psi n. Okay, what we need is, we need A dagger psi n. Okay, so what we'll do A dagger psi n, we'll keep it on the left hand side, and this minus half psi n, we'll take it to the other side. So we'll get n plus half psi n plus half into ket psi n. Okay, so this now can be added up and we get n plus 1 into psi n. All right. So you can see that A dagger psi n is nothing but n plus 1 into psi n. Okay, which means now you can just substitute this here, right? We had Cn square bra psi n with a scale in a scalar product with A dagger psi n. So instead of A dagger psi n, what we can do, we can put n plus 1 into psi n. That's what we are doing here. Okay. So we do n plus 1 into psi n. N plus 1 is just a constant, it comes outside. And then we have scalar product of psi n with itself. So we have already assumed that this one is normalized, right? So if this is normalized, this is equal to 1. And so we get Cn square is equal to 1 by n plus 1. So Cn is equal to 1 by root of n plus 1. Okay, is this clear? So we have got the normalization factor. So the normalization factor turns out to be 1 by root of n plus 1. Okay, so psi n plus 1 is given as, right? It was, we had used the formula psi n plus 1 was given as Cn, the normalization factor, multiplied with a dagger into psi n. So now we have found out what Cn is. Cn is 1 by root of n plus 1. So we substitute here. So this is the formula for psi n plus 1. Okay. So similarly, we can show psi n minus 1 is given by 1 by root n into a into psi n. Okay. So this is your homework. I want you to show how to do this. So you have to follow in the same type. So same kind of steps. You have to start with, so for psi n plus 1, we started with psi n plus 1, psi n plus 1. So in this case, you will start with psi n minus 1, psi n minus 1. Okay, that's what you will do. Alright, so this is your homework. Any questions up to this point? Okay, we have not done anything new here. We've just used the previous formulas that we derived in the previous class and then used all those formulas and got what is the normalization constant for psi n plus 1. Okay, alright. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Alright, so these two formulas are important. Okay, so psi n plus 1 is given by 1 by root n plus 1 into a dagger psi n, and psi n minus 1 is given by 1 by root n into a into psi n. Okay, so these two are important formulas in terms of a raising operator, and this one is in terms of a lowering operator. Okay, all right. So from this above one, what you can see is, if you write psi 1 is nothing but a dagger psi 0, because for psi 1, n is 0, right? So 1 by root 1 is 1. So you have 1 into a dagger psi 0. For psi 2, if you use this formula, 1 by root n plus 1 into a dagger psi n, if you use this formula for psi 2, then n is 1, right? So you'll get 1 by root 2 into a dagger psi 1, right? That's what you have got. So similarly, you can keep on doing. So now psi 1 is given by a dagger psi 0. So you can apply that also here, substitute that here. So you'll get psi 2 in terms of 1 by root 2 into a dagger whole square into psi 0. Similarly, you can find for psi 3, which turns out to be 1 by root of 3 into 2 a dagger whole cube into psi 0. Okay, so this is your psi 3. So similarly, if you keep on doing, this is like a recursion relation. You are going to get psi n is equal to 1 by root of n factorial a dagger power n into psi 0. Okay, so psi n you can get in terms of psi 0. So this is a very nice formula, because what it does is you only need to remember what psi 0 is. If you know what psi 0 is, you don't have to remember anything else. Then you can just use this formula and get all the higher energy eigenstates, right? So that way it is very nice and intuitive and convenient, right, to work with it. All right. So now what we're doing? Okay. So now what we're doing is we're seeing what is this function. Okay. So let's recall. Psi 0 was, so using these operators now, you can find what is psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. And it will turn out to be same as what we got using the Hermite polynomial thing, right? With the differential equation method, whatever we got, you'll get back the same thing. Okay. So now let's recall that psi 0 of x is a Gaussian function, right? This is the form of psi 0 of x. So this is a Gaussian function. Psi 1 of x is some linear term x multiplied with a Gaussian function. Psi 2 of x is a quadratic term multiplied with a Gaussian function, and so on. Okay, so if you want to plot this function with respect to x, what does the function look like? So this is how the function looks like. Okay, so you have on the x-axis you have plotted x, and on the y-axis you are plotting psi 0 of x, psi 1 of x, or psi 2 of x. So psi 0 of x is a Gaussian function, right? So you plot a Gaussian function, and because this is it's just x minus 0 whole square here, so this is the mean of the Gaussian is 0. Okay, so this is a Gaussian function, and psi 1 of x is a linear term x multiplied with a Gaussian function, right? It is x into e power minus x square. That is the form, that is the kind of form it has. So in that case, it is this kind of a function. And psi 2 of x is this kind of a function. Okay, so as you can see, for psi 0 of x, there are 0 nodes. For psi 1 of x, there is 1 node, right here. For psi 2 of x, there are 2 nodes here and here. Psi 3 of x, there are going to be 3 nodes, right? There will be 3 nodes. Okay, so this is how your eigenstates look like. Any question?
Question asks,
Hello? Who is that? Any question? Do you have any question? Okay. All right. So we, for every solution that we get, we should plot psi, the wave function versus x. So this is how it looks like. Okay. So this is an important thing that you should know, how Gaussian function looks like and everything. I have already taught you how to plot several functions, right? So you should try and plot them in Python, like how I have taught you already. Okay, plot them and see for yourself. Change certain values and see how the plots change. Okay, that will give you some intuition. All right. So one thing I want to ask you, since these wave functions are in a harmonic potential, right? So are they going to tunnel or are they not going to tunnel, the wave functions? Meaning, is the probability outside the potential 0 or non-zero? Probability of finding the particle outside the potential, is it 0 or non-zero? Please let me know. What do you think? Yeah, tell me. You can write in comments also. What do you think? What do you think will be the probability of finding the particle outside the potential? Is it going to be 0 or non-zero? That is what we mean by tunneling, right? If the probability is non-zero, it means that the particle has tunneled. And if it is 0, then it means that particle has not tunneled, right? So please let me know, what do you think? 0, since the potential outside would be infinity. Any other answer?
Non-zero.
Non-zero, why?
Because potential is finite at a particular value of x.
Exactly. So Yashna, your intuition, I mean, this would be correct if the potential was actually infinity. But actually, if you see, the potential is given by what? Half into m omega square x square. So for a particular value of x, there is a particular value of the potential. So for x equal to 1, the potential is half m omega square. So that is not infinity. For x equal to 2, for example, the potential is what? 2 into m omega square, right? That is also not infinity. So for particular values of x, the potential is not infinity. That is a finite potential for particular values of x. That is why the particle is going to tunnel outside. Okay. So thank you, Yashna and Akash, for trying. Okay. So good. So essentially, what we are seeing is that the particle is going to tunnel outside. So if we draw the harmonic potential, so here I have drawn this parabola-like thing is my harmonic potential that I have drawn. So if I draw this harmonic potential, and if I draw the wave function or the wave function within that, you will see that the wave function looks like this. So the wave function goes outside the potential. Okay. And similarly, this is for n equal to 0. For n equal to 1 also, the wave function will it will decay, but it will slightly go outside the potential. Okay. So this is how you have to draw. If you draw the probability, so I also want you to draw the probability for this. Okay. So here I have said plot psi n square versus x for n equal to 0, 1 and 2. So I'm basically asking you to plot p of x versus x. So similarly, for in the same kind of diagram, this is your homework. Please plot p of x versus x and show me how the tunneling looks like or how the probability looks like outside the potential. Okay, so tunneling does take place because the potential is finite. So if you see for this value of x, the potential is only this much. If you see for this value of x, the potential is only this much, right? So there is some finite potential at every different value of x. And so the particle is going to tunnel outside the potential. Okay, is that clear? So that is what I've written here. Tunneling takes place. There is a finite probability that the particle lies outside the harmonic potential boundary. All right. And this I've already explained. 0 point energy is for n equal to 0, and it turns out to be half into h cross omega. And this is your lowest energy level. Okay. So as I've already mentioned, this is a one-dimensional particle in a one-dimensional potential, and the particle is bound, right? So the eigenstates are discrete and non-degenerate, right? This is one of the theorems that we learned about in the beginning of this chapter, in the very beginning. And this theorem turns out to be true for all the cases, right? We have seen for particle in a box, and this particle in a harmonic potential. For both of these cases, the theorem turns out to be true. Okay. So now I think I've just given you, I think, a couple of, this is one problem. So here the homework for you is you need to find the operator, the expectation value of x, px, x square, px square for psi n of x, for a general wave function psi n of x. And you also need to check that the uncertainty relation is satisfied. Okay, so after finding all of this, so what you can do is you try to do it using the ladder operator method. Okay, so x can be written in terms of these two operators. Okay, so all you have to do is you have to apply these two operators to psi n of x and find the expectation value. Okay, that's how you have to do it. Okay. So try to do it using this method and find out all of these quantities. Okay, so this is going to be your homework. You know what the formula for expectation value is now, right? Expectation value is just for expectation value of x, what you have to do is you have to take the scalar product of psi n x psi n, right? And instead of x, you can put this particular formula. Okay, and find out what is the value. Similarly, you do for all the others. Okay, so it's pretty easy. So that's why when you use ladder operators, every computation becomes very easy. Okay, you will see when you do this problem, you will see how easy the computation becomes. All right. So far we have discussed the matrix method, right? But we have not represented any of the operators in terms of matrices. Okay, so I think now what we'll do is we'll try to represent each of these operators in terms of matrices. So if you look at the expectation value of H, right, or not expectation value, this is like a scalar product of H psi n with psi n dash, then you will see that this can be, so H psi n, if you operate Hamiltonian on psi n, you will get H cross omega into n plus half into psi n, right? So this is a constant, so you can take it outside, and what you are left with is scalar product of psi n dash psi n. And this can be written as delta n dash n. Okay. So if this is delta n dash n, it means that this value is equal to 1 only when n dash is equal to n. Otherwise, it is equal to 0. Right? This we already know from all the concepts that we have studied so far. Okay. So this quantity can be written as h cross omega into n plus half when n dash is equal to n. Otherwise, it is written as 0 when n dash is not equal to n. Okay, so when you draw a matrix, so let's look at, let me see if I can connect it and try to make you understand. Okay, so Okay, so what I mean is if I write this matrix, okay, which is psi n dash h psi n, okay, this is basically nothing but I'm basically doing 1 h1, right? Each of these are the first eigenstate, and for this I will have 1 h2 and so on. Here I'm going to have 2 h1, 2 h2 and so on. Here I'm going to have 3 h1, 3 h2, right, and so on. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you is, so what was this value? This value turned out to be this value turned out to be h cross omega into n plus half. Okay, so into delta n dash n. So this is only equal to 1 when n dash is equal to n. Otherwise it is equal to 0. So for this one, n dash, right, n dash is equal to n. So this value will have a value 1 for this term. But this value for this term, you can see that 1 is not equal to 2. So this term is going to become 0. So for this term, I'll get h cross omega into n plus half. So n, I should start with 0 because the first state is 0, right? So n is 0 in the first state. So I'm going to get half into h cross omega. Here I'm going to get 0 and so on. Then in this case, I'm going to get 0. Then here I'm going to get 3 by 2 h cross omega and then nothing. Like that, right? 0, 0, and here I'm going to get 5 by 2 h cross omega and so on. Okay, so this is what I mean. So when I'm writing this matrix here, this is the computation that I'm doing. So I'm taking h cross omega by 2 outside and I'm writing 1, 3, 5 in the diagonals, and everywhere else it is 0. So this is your matrix representation of h cross omega by of the Hamiltonian. Okay, so the matrix representation of Hamiltonian looks like this. Similarly, you can also do a matrix representation of an, of A operator. Okay, so A operator acting on n will give you root n into n minus 1. Okay, this is what it is going to give you, right? So basically this turns out to be root n into delta n dash n minus 1. Okay, which means that the off diagonal, some of the off diagonal terms will be non-zero. So what does A operator look like? It is basically this matrix. Okay, the matrix is 0 A 0, 0 A 1 and so on, and then on the in the second row it is 1 A 0, 1 A 1 and so on, right? This is the matrix. So now if you see it is root n when n dash is equal to n minus 1. Okay, is n dash equal to n minus 1 here? No. Okay, because here n dash and n are both same. Here n dash is equal to n minus 1 because n is 1 and n dash is equal to 0. So this is nothing but 1, right? 1 minus 1, which is 0. So this term will be non-zero, but this term will be 0. Okay, then again this term will be 0. This term will be 0. All these terms will, and this term might be non-zero. So that is what you're going to get. So when you write down A matrix, the operator A in terms of a matrix, so what you're going to get is 0, root 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, root 2, 0. So this diagonal will have values, and everywhere else it's going to be 0. Right? This is the way that you have to find out the matrix representation of this operator. Okay. So similarly, I want you to find out the matrix representation of A dagger and X. So this is your homework. Okay. Any questions here? I hope you are following. Okay. Do these computations and then see for yourself. You will get it. Okay. All right. Then the next question is, I think this is the final thing. So this is again your homework problem. An electron is moving freely inside a 1D infinite potential box with walls at x equal to 0 and x equal to a. If the electron is initially in the ground state, n equal to 1 of the box, and if we suddenly quadruple the size of the box, calculate the probability of finding the electron in the ground state of the new box and B, the first excited state of the new box. Okay, so these are your questions. So with this, I am finishing this chapter. All right. Now you have to submit the assignment on today is Wednesday, right? So, okay, I'll give you time till Monday. So you have to submit your assignment on Monday. Okay. So Monday is your submission date for this assignment, and this will be your final assignment. I'm not going to give you any more assignment after this. Okay. And after this, if I give you any more homework problem, that is just for you to practice. You don't have to submit it to me. Okay, so this is where we stop and we finish this chapter. And tomorrow, whatever I've been promising you so far for the entire course, that we will do hydrogen atom. So tomorrow we are going to start with hydrogen atom. And finally, we are going to see how the orbitals and what we get when we solve the Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom. That will be an interesting problem. Okay, because now I think now you have the tools to understand everything. So tomorrow we will apply all those tools in trying to solve the hydrogen atom problem. Any questions? Okay, any questions so far? All right.
Hello.
So I'll see. Yes, Anshuman.
So, ma'am, you had mentioned in the start of one-dimensional SHO that
Yeah.
for a diatomic molecule, the effective mass will be the average of the masses.
Yes.
Shouldn't we take the center of mass to find the effective mass? Like so, it will be M1 M2 by M1 plus M2. Because if the atoms are dissimilar, why will it be the average of the masses?
No, yeah, you are right. We have to take the reduced mass, which is the center of mass, basically. Did I say average earlier? Okay.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean,
In
I might
the
have assumed that two particles are of the same mass. That's why I might have said average. But you are right. If there are two dissimilar atoms, we need to take the reduced mass and not the average. Okay. But I guess I may not have time to go to diatomic molecules at all. Let's see. We'll try to finish hydrogen atom, which is a one particle problem. Okay, well, it has two particles, one electron, one proton, and we'll see how that is being done. Okay, so
okay.
we'll see tomorrow how we are going to deal with it. All right, any other question? Okay, then.